something does go wrong and they do want legal redress, it's much easier for me to help them get that legal redress, whether through international arbitration, which is international, confidential, can only happen with the consent of the parties, and therefore is allowed by these permission networks, or if needs be by the courts, which is a much harder way to make recovery. So when you lose centralization, it may be in line with the philosophy, and there may be benefits that go along with that. But there are also, when things go wrong, it is ultimately your wallet, and in a decentralized environment, then that there may be little redress when things do go wrong.
I also think over time, regulators are going to break down what decentralized means. So in a way, Citibank is decentralized because they have a New York entity and a Singapore entity and Hong Kong, and different pieces do different things. So in a DeFi protocol, if all you have is code, you don't have an entity. But somebody created that code, whether a person or an entity. And that person or entity can be regulated. Now you can say, well, Chris, 10 people created the code. All 10 people can potentially be regulated wherever they are. So over time, decentralized can be, you just circle it all up, who is doing what, is that a regulated activity in that jurisdiction? And the reason regulators are gonna care, what we've talked about before, tax. They want everybody paying their taxes, and the money, the fees are going somewhere.
I think the quick answer again is yes, they can coexist. In fact, you can see that happening in a lot of centralized exchange right now. They offer both centralized services and decentralized services. And because both centralized and decentralized trade some of the similar coin, I do see that centralized exchange is acting as a police. Maybe it's the wrong word, but and also a bank, because centralized exchange with their creative, financial inputs, they actually provide liquidity, to the DEXs, right? And then if you look back, when we talk about decentralization, as many projects, they are just all these so-called leaders are just working behind a profile picture, right? So it's not like Citibank, you know who the guy is, right? So that profile picture guy, if he's able to make some gains, the first thing that they usually will do is that they will take and put the money to a centralized exchange. Then centralized exchange will be the withdrawal point, right? So that is also another point to recognize who is who. So that's the reason why I said the exchange, centralized exchange, is actually more like a police, in that sense. So can it be coexist? I think, again, the answer is yes.
Okay. In the whole blockchain ecosystem, the real issue hasn't been the blockchain technology. The technology is here to stay. We saw it's been evolving. But the real issue in the whole ecosystem has been the legal issue, So, and a lot of firms out there are struggling with compliance. So can all firms, especially in the ecosystem over here, be compliant to all the laws or to the laws? And we have some lawyers here, yes.
I mean, yeah, it's super expensive. One thing I'd say, regulation, the burden of regulation increases. I tell everybody you're gonna hate to be regulated, right? So when you sign up for that license, you better have a theory about why you're doing it, because it's gonna be brutal. So it's not that it cannot be done, but it's really onerous. And if you're expecting every country to have the same standards, yeah, that's not the way it's gonna work.
Yeah, sure. I've got a slightly different perspective again. So we've been talking a lot about governments and regulation and the opinions and guidance papers and it seems like every day we get another 1,000 page kind of guidance from one jurisdiction or another. But what you see if you are a litigation lawyer like myself and you're you're helping clients recover assets or preventing preventing other parties doing things, is you start to notice that the way in which different courts start to make decisions starts to be quite common. And so, for instance, courts might say, even though this is a decentralized blockchain, if the individual who has suffered the loss is habitually resident in one jurisdiction. So if you have a Singaporean-based guy, even though the blockchain is decentralized, maybe it's proof of work, and there's activity taking place all around the globe, the Singapore courts will take jurisdiction and will make an order. And there's other principles, and I think of this as almost soft law, because it's not necessarily binding. A Singapore judge might not necessarily apply strictly what a New York judge has decided, but he or she may be persuaded by that judgment. So there are some I won't go into detail now, but there are some extremely important cases which will be decided either late this year or early next year, and they cover topics such as what duty do developers owe to blockchain users, if any duty at all. To what extent, when is an arbitrage trade a good trade, and when is it an exploit, for instance? And then a number of other issues which the regulators maybe haven't even thought of, but because they've arisen in practice, you'll have decided decisions. And as you get more and more of these cases, you will start to see a soft law develop, which in some ways is good, because it means that there's a bit more certainty as to what your rights and obligations are when you make an investment or enter into a collaboration.
Coming back to the question again, I think there's no real rules or regulations around blockchain. I think the question was about blockchain, but I think there are a lot of different rules about cryptocurrency right now. But having again, coming back to the point about uniform regulation, is kind of tough, right? Different jurisdiction, different judges have different kind of a perspective over a certain asset. And right now we are treading on new grounds. I've seen a case the other day about a retail investor stick their NFT into a decentralized platform, and then they forgot, and then someone bought the NFT. And then, long story short is that the judge is now saying that he's going to sue that address, which is decentralized and you don't know who he is. To me, I felt that it's kind of a joke. But of course, to some of my friends, they say that, wow, this is really amazing. If you can sue this and you get the money back or get the NFT back, well, that's amazing. But then these are actually kind of useless because you don't know who they are. We are paying the different lawyers to fight a case that might not have any ending. So again, we just need to be more realistic. Where we stand and how we look at regulations and how different regulations can protect us, versus just fighting a case for the sake of fighting, right?
Yeah, actually, I'd agree with one of the points there, which is that you have to know the limits. So as you say, if you have a self-custodied wallet, it's quite hard for somebody to touch that wallet currently. I mean, the authorities will always try. They will always try and find points of ingress, whether that be the developer of a wallet, etc. But frankly, if you're if somebody steals your assets and takes them to a centralized exchange, you can write to that exchange and potentially get your assets back. It isn't necessarily the case, or is much more difficult if it's a self-custodied wallet. And certainly, if I have clients who are looking at legal action, that's something they should know at the outset, whether or not, what the prospects are that they'll recover anything.
I think it's important for every project out there, whether it's an institution or a startup, to be compliant with the laws wherever you are registered, and having the books from a taxation perspective as well. But the good thing is, there are about 320 million users worldwide right now, and there are about 18,000 businesses worldwide that accept different form of cryptocurrency as a payment. And according to Gartner, by 2024, at least 20% of large enterprises will use digital currencies for payment, store of value or collateral, which will disrupt the current financial networks and business models. So DeFi is here to stay. It has been evolving, and it will continue to evolve. Well, thank you so much, panel, for your time and for your thoughts, for your time as well. Thank you.
Round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen, for the panel discussion, Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Laws and Regulation 2023. There you have it. Earlier was the moderator, Surya Sarela, panelists Andy Lian, Chris Holland, Mike Chiam, Tuhu Nugra, and Matthew Townsend. Okay, so next we have Do Good, Your Key to Web3 Success. So we have our next speaker. Let's give a big round of applause and welcome Yvonne Xiao, Head at One Side Esila Luxito Foundation ASEAN.
Yeah, ready? Yeah, thank you. Good morning. My name is Yvonne, and I'm head of One Side Esila Luxottica Foundation. So I've been in the charity space for close to 10 years. And I'm a big fan of Web3 for two reasons. The first, its ability to transform and revolutionize the whole entire do-good ecosystem. I see blockchain and Web3 as a solution to many problems that's caused to people, planet, and humanity. The second reason why I'm so passionate about building in this space is it offers someone the opportunity to do good and do well. This is something that's not readily available in today's context. Think about the nurses, the charity workers. These people work so hard, do so much good for society, but they may not be adequately compensated economically. I remember in a very recent trip I have to Philippines when we were running a charity clinic in Philippines. So there was a teacher, and we were doing eye screening for the slum kids, and we also offered all the teachers this opportunity to get vision care and a free pair of specs. And we realized that she is blind on one side of her eye, so technically she's blind. So when we realized that, we contacted a local NGO and got her to get an operation free of charge. So when she realized that she was given this opportunity, she held my hand and my volunteer's hand, and she cried. I'm totally flabbergasted. How is it that someone who gives back so much to the society would even have a chance to use her own money/salary to pay for a surgery that is so basic to all of us here that we don't even think about it? So I think that do good, it's really the key to your Web3 success. And apparently, I'm not the only one who thinks that. Dylan Field, he's the founder of a $20 billion company called Figma. He thinks that in the next 20 years, the biggest economic return will come from projects that is focused on philanthropy as well as public good. And here's why. Let's look at this whole spectrum, and you probably know where you are, okay, somewhere here, but I'll come to you in a while. Let's start with this. This is the bottom of the pyramid. This is where everybody here earns about $2 a day. So between $2 buying your tokens or $2 buying food, I believe we all know the answers. They are so far away from Web3 and blockchain. This is what I call the U segment. U for unaware and U for uncertain. They are unaware of this thing that we're so passionate and excited about. So they are literally in a bubble of their own. And they are also quite uncertain. Should I be in? Should I be out? Is this thing good for me or not? So there's a lot of question mark here. So I believe that this is the group that we need to target. But the trust level is so low. Do good, it's a key for us to build the bridge. And here is where all of you are. And it's such a tiny percentage, only a single digit. So my ask of you is, I need you to step up, I need you to own it, and I need you to drive this do-good space because you have the resources, you have the capital, you have the network, and you have the brains. Okay? So what we need to do is to collectively come together and do something about this. Why? Because your customers are also people who love philanthropy. They are also people who are big into humanity. This question was asked, are you a philanthropist? So look at this staggering difference. The boomers, only 35% say, yeah, I am a philanthropist. But ladies and gentlemen, 74%, double that number, actually feels that they are philanthropists, and they are your Gen Zs, and they are your millennials. So what they will do is that they will exercise their purchasing power to align with their ideology. And if there's not enough evidence, look at the sheer size of this market. 4 billion people. Imagine that whatever you are building today addresses a concern for these people. And if each of them just spend $1 with you, you are up by $4 billion. That's your new unicorn. And why are so many of us still so passionate? Right? It is crypto winter after all, right? All the tourists have left, all the noise have left. So what is remaining is really purists. People with very strong ethos to collaborate and partner. I have never met so many people that is so collaborative. In fact, in the amount of time that I spend in this space equals to probably the whole lifetime of me making new friends. And it's all in the spirit of collaboration and partnership. So what we need to do is to make all these meaningful connections because the technology is there. One day in Web3 is 30 days in a month, right? We know how fast the thing revolves, how fast every day is for Web3 because there's new technology, there's new disruption to solve all these complex problems that we need to. So this is my first project. All thanks to my team, Tiong Hui, Grace. We were learning and we were building at the same time. It was tough because there was not much information. But thanks to agility and thanks to curiosity, we did this with one of the biggest brands, Kodak. So everybody knows Kodak. But what you might not know is that they are very charity focused. Every year, they give the foundation a huge sum of money. But last year, when we talk about going into the digital space, maybe bringing your customers into this digital journey, they got excited and they said, why not, let's try this. So what we did was we produced 5,000 limited edition NFT to give the customers who bought a Kodak, which allows Kodak in turn to give to the foundation. So this little badge of appreciation allows us to have a close-gated community. And when we first launched, there was about 1,000 of these super fans all around the world, and we were shocked with the data. Because what it does is that it allows us to get very close to them. It allows us to share with them what we want to share about doing good and doing well. So this little thing, we call him Cody. Cody was launched in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, at the Asia Optometric Congress with 6,000 people. So there was a lot of buzz around this because he's quite cute, right? And also there was a vending machine that dispenses, right, all the little things related to Cody. And then there was one corner about us, you know, about our impact work and et cetera, et cetera. So it was really, really good fun. But we realized that, you know, we almost are like kids in a candy store. You know, since we built the first thing, right, why don't we try second and third and fourth thing? So some of the things, right, that's really out there, and I would urge you to seriously consider, for example, things like digital twin. This is so amazing. This technology is not new, but what is new is the way you think about it, the way you can recreate and repurpose this. Imagine if you are building a school, an orphanage, or a charity clinic. What this allows you to do is to have a digital replica of this event in a digital space. And for those of your stakeholders like donors, volunteers, who are not there physically, they can go into this space and know exactly what you are doing. And also you can layer things like your testimonial, pictures, you know, of your beneficiaries, stories, photos, music, everything. Pretty interesting stuff. And then there's this thing called dynamic NFT. Again, super, super cool. Because these days, we only have the attention span of a goldfish, less than 7 seconds. So even our NFT cannot be stagnant. It has to evolve. So what this does is that it allows us, sorry, one sec. Can I have my water? Yeah.
Water?
Here, sorry. Sorry. Okay, sorry, this is how dynamic it is, as you can see. So what it allows us to do is that every time somebody with your NFT interacts with you, it allows the NFT to mutate, evolves, and engage to a point that they feel that they are so sticky with your community and the brand, they become your ambassadors. And at the end of the day, that's what all of us really, really want, right? We want a community that sticks with us through thick and thin, through bear and the bull. One of the greatest issues that we've always been trying to solve in our philanthropic sector is that of trust. Do I trust that whatever I give to Turkey and Syria actually reaches them? Do I trust that, you know, my big donation, 100% of it actually goes into the hands of the beneficiary? I think blockchain offers such a great solution for us in terms of transparency. Purpose-bound money. This is one amazing tool, right, that we can consider using. As the name implies, the money will be dispensed to your executor as long as the purpose is met. So what it does is that literally the money goes from one hand to the other when a certain milestone is met. So at the end of the day, when all the check boxes are thick, it allows the end executor to actually receive the funds. So it's very efficient in terms of administration, in terms of logistics, and in terms of transparency because it's real time. The other thing I really love is this thing called soul-bound token. Imagine if all of us have a soul-bound token. What it does is that this is untransferable. So it captures all our information like volunteering hours, like donation. So one day, if I want to go to Animoca and I said, you know what, I think I really love to work with you. And then they look at me and they say, okay, but are you a nice person? And I pull out a soul-bound token and said, this is my social identity. So there's no more whitewashing, greenwashing, blue washing. Literally what it does is that it tracks you in real time. And another possible use is imagine refugee camps, right? You know, my team and I, we do a lot of work there. But oftentimes we hear that, you know, the real beneficiaries are not the one that receives the aid, the medical supply, the stipends. Okay? So what this amazing tool can do is that if every refugee is given a soul-bound token, only they can turn up and only they can receive it there. So no more human abuse, no more nepotism, no more bribery. And at the end of the day, again, what we really want to do is to create value. That's the only way the digital elites can grow and the whole economy, this digital economy, can come alive. Currently, the system is the central institution owns everything. They own the IP, they own the money, they decide how much little breadcrumbs to give all of us. But with this new Web3 ethos, as well as technology, this is being distilled to the last man. As long as you create, as long as you give back to the community, as long as you contribute, it is all written in the smart contract, and you get a cut of this whole thing because you gave your time to build. Okay? And this is the last thing that I really, really like, sharing our royalties. Again, the traditional system now is that every couple of months we have to go begging, right? Now, after 10 years, my skin is very thick and I'm kind of a dignified beggar. Okay? So what it does is that this allows charity to get ourselves off this begging vicious cycle. Because as long as our story and our mission resonates with a big brand and they are willing to share with us their royalty, it means that it allows us to concentrate our resources on building the infrastructure. It allows us to be very efficient in terms of delivery because all our energy is spent there. And it's about sustainable giving at the end of the day. So lastly, I think the only fun thing that we can do together is to do good, do well, and do it together. Because if we have one thing without the other, I believe our life is not going to be so fulfilled. So I look forward to connecting with each and every one of you if this message resonates with you, and let's see what kind of wonderful stuff we can build together. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
A round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen, to our speaker, Yvonne Seah, once again with Do Good, your key to Web3 success. Okay, next, let's welcome our speaker, John Aguilar, founder and host, The Final Pitch and The Final Pitch Asia. And with his title, Pitching Blockchain to Southeast Asia and the World. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, once again to John Aguilar.
I've gathered a formidable cast of business and industry leaders. My name is John Aguilar, and I'm a serial entrepreneur based in Manila, Philippines. I've gathered a formidable cast of business and industry leaders on the lookout to fund and support the country's rising tech startups. Wei Zhou, CEO of Coins.ph. Francis Plaza, co-founder and CEO of PayMongo. Avin Ong, founder and CEO of Fredly Group of Companies. Amor Maclang, co-founder of Geyser Maclang. Rose Ong, senior executive vice president and COO of Wilcon Depot. And John Yanuschak, president and CEO of UBX. Many will try, but only a few will make it to the final pitch. Hello everyone, good morning. Hi, my name is John Aguilar. I am the founder and host of the business reality show, The Final Pitch. I'm from the Philippines. It's great to be here, Singapore. Thank you very much for the welcome. So today I'm here to talk about how you can pitch blockchain to Southeast Asia and the world. I consider myself a blockchain outsider. In fact, last night there was a pre-party with the speakers. Half the time, most of what people were saying to me, it was just going over my head. Okay, so, but I'm here not to preach blockchain because I feel that the number one challenge right now is, apart from mass adoption, education. And that's what we're here to do today, to invite you to be part of. So the final pitch essentially is a cross between three concepts, three shows. It's like Shark Tank, The Apprentice, and The Voice combined in one program. It's really quite unique, and we've successfully launched this and produced this in the Philippines since 2017. So we're on CNN Philippines, and we're currently preparing for our 9th season on air. We have rated very well back in Manila, in the Philippines, over 23.8 million viewers for our 8th season alone. We have helped more than 130 plus startups since we launched our first season, and we've managed to aggregate over $3 million in funding for our entrepreneur contestants on the show. So we have had a lot of successful startups come out of the final pitch. A lot of them are in the tech space. Some are in traditional businesses. The most current ones definitely belong in the Web3 blockchain space. And one thing I can say about our show is that sometimes, even if you don't get an investment through the show, what happens after is more important. Because even if you don't get an investment through the show, the people who get to watch it, whether it's on CNN Philippines or online, eventually the long tail effect of coming out on the final pitch is what really catapults a lot of the startups who pitch on the show to their next level of growth. And in fact, a lot of the startups who have come out on the final pitch have grown their startups substantially, exponentially, some even venturing outside of the Philippines. So it's been a great way for us to be able to help the local startup ecosystem back in my home country. So what happens in the final pitch? So just to give you, I guess, a narrative of how everything happens. So at the beginning of the season, we have these startups pitch to our investor judges, pretty much like Shark Tank. So they pitch, and what happens is the judges then pick a number of them who they would like to potentially invest in at the end of the season, pretty much like The Voice. But it's not a blind audition, for obvious reasons. So they listen to the pitches, and the ones that they would like to work with, they then invite to become their official contestants or official teams. And once they're on board, we introduce mentors to these startups who help them in the different aspects of their business, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in taking their business model to maybe its next level of growth. The role of the mentor or the mentors in the show is really essentially to be able to get them ready for the finale, which is the final pitch. And we've had great mentors through the years. A lot of them belonging, some to successful startups, a lot of them also are very, very successful domain experts in different fields. And the great thing about the final pitch is that it allows our judges, our sharks, if you may, to be able to not just get the very best startups to come to them and pitch to them, but also they use the show as a platform to be able to showcase their respective companies, their advocacies, their personal brands. So it's a great way to get out there and just really showcase to people who you are. If you look at Shark Tank, the sharks on Shark Tank are very successful entrepreneurs even before the show. So a lot of them have built their businesses. They have been, I guess, world famous and known